Welcome to the very first episode of Confessions from the Film Heretic, where I express my deep passion for films, the unpopular opinions I have, and the love for the craft. My name is Zane, and I am the Film Heretic. God, that was some uncomfortable takes. Now, while I will start off the show by exploring my questionable tastes and interests, I do want to prioritize an emphasis on stuff that I actually like, because it's just very much, so much easier to talk about stuff you like and having many things to go off of than not knowing where to start with something you don't like. That being said, I have no idea how this will end up. Maybe I'll end up just publishing regular reviews, or provide a two-part special on why I think Twin Peaks is so fucking spectacular. But I don't know. That's just part of fun though, isn't it? Today we'll be starting off with quite possibly one of my most, let's just say that, controversial opinions as of now. That being why I did not care for The Dark Knight. That's a little Family Guy reference to you nerds, that's me. I do want to say that I am reading off a script that I made specifically for this episode to talk about my thoughts on the film. Even when I take my headphones off, I'm fumbling words. Film. Alright? But I'll pretty much just go off the rail if I want to. Maybe I'll stick to it, just depends. So, a quick Cliff Note summary for those of you who don't know. The Dark Knight was released in 2008. It's the second installment of the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy that follows the combined efforts of Batman, James Gordon, and Harvey Dent, who, in an effort to bring an end to organized crime in Gotham City, are faced with the obstacle of the Joker, a psychopathic killer who dresses like a clown and plans to break down the societal structure of Gotham by exposing the corruptive nature of those in power. This film, suffices to say, is arguably one of the many influential comic book movies of the 2000s, demonstrating that blockbuster comic book movies could be adapted or made to appeal to a broader demographic for everyone to enjoy, and not just weirdo nerds like me. Let's just say it like that. I have seen this film one other time since starting the show in full, and for my first episode I decided to commit to this project and just rewatch the thing, despite my grievances from when I first saw it. I was a kid though, so I can't remember what I think about stuff I liked as a kid. Actually, Mrs. Doubtfire is fucking awesome. I love Mrs. Doubtfire, and the Lego Batman movie. That is so much better. If you have one takeaway from this, watch the Lego Batman movie. I get if you're not a comic book fan or a Batman fan, you'll probably think I'm freaking out. Watch the Lego Batman movie, for crying out loud, just watch it. So, I decided to go in with a clear mind, take some notes, and see what my problems lie. Pretty much just specifically so I can pinpoint where, stuff like that. And for future reference, for every project that I'm rewatching, let me rephrase that. For every project that I watch, every project that I cover, Jesus Christ, Zane, I will rewatch them if I haven't seen them in a while, in order to have a fresh understanding and mindset before talking about them here. I do have a couple upcoming episodes with one of my friends. I've seen the films I'm going to talk about for that episode quite recently, so I'm not really going to go too much. I'll probably just go into just jump right into it for that one, pretty much. That will come up when it comes up, I guess. I've taken forever trying to come up with this episode. I've put off for it I haven't put off for it so long. I'm not terrible like that. I'm not a procrastinator. I will say this whole podcast thing is so new and it's so daunting. This room it's wonderful, but it's so claustrophobic. I'm not even kidding. If anyone who does a podcast can imagine where I am, that's what it feels like. And also, I was just fumbling my words when I was trying to make a start, so it's good having my script in front of me and knowing what to say next. Anyone who's starting out, make sure you have a script ready to talk about it, especially if you're doing it by yourself, just because you're gonna mess up, and that's totally fine. But having a script to have points on what you want to say, I cannot recommend it enough. So my viewing of the film primarily comes from the perspective of a Batman and comic book fan, and whose favourite Christopher Nolan films are Oppenheimer and The Prestige. I have The Prestige on DVD. I had no knowledge of it. At that time, I pretty much just saw the Dark Knight films, the first two. I haven't even seen Dark Knight Rises. I'm terrified on what that is. But I saw The Prestige in like Poundland for £1. I saw the people on it. I was like, oh, this looks interesting. It's like a magician thing. It is so good. Oh my god. I won't say it made me cry or anything, but it made me think. Like, you know, like Christopher Nolan is just like infamous for like, well, for many things, but like his weird, messed up, interlocking time placement, timeline shit. Prestige does it really well, especially with the twist and turn. Oppenheimer's fucking phenomenal. I love it. I saw it when it came out the last day of school, 2023. I do not understand a single bit of science that they're saying, but I get it. And it's just so good. Like how the science stuff in it just like makes sense. And usually I watch films with subtitles, but like I just got the hang of it, so it was fun. So please do bear in mind that just because I'm absolutely going to rip on this film for why it just does not work for me, this does not mean that I don't appreciate what it took to make this. I mean, like Hans Zimmer's score, particularly with the Joker theme, it's just so unsettling and unnerving that it manages to just capture the character's sheer insanity. There were times when I was like I don't usually put films on X2 speed. I was thinking of doing it for The Dark Knight. I did not, so I'm not completely brain rotted. But I was planning on doing it. And then I just heard the Joker's theme go, and I was like, don't touch it, don't touch it. It's like, no, don't do it. And I was just like, taking it all in. And, oh man, that's one specific piece. Like, I wrote in my book that I need to like listen to soundtracks more. And while I was writing a couple more extra notes right in the script, like, oh man, the Joker's theme is just so eerie. Like, they got like a violin and just like scraped it along. Oh man, I'm like mimicking it with my hands right now, and it's like, oh, so good. That and the dedication to film many of the set pieces entirely on IMAX in order to achieve the best possible quality. I mean, these are just a few insights from the DVD behind the scenes that I looked at from the library, and it's just breathtaking looking at the different skills required and implemented into this product. And it's honestly, I just recommend this as something for anyone to try. If you have a DVD lying about, or even just go out and buy one of your favorite movies, watch all, or like as much as you can of the special features. And if you really want to get crazy, rewatch the film with the director's commentary. It's been a while since I've listened to a commentary track, but I'm definitely going to give that more of a try. Even if you're like me and you're watching a film that you overall fail to connect with, you will truly gain a deeper level of understanding and appreciation to the material and craft of filmmaking. And if you are like me, which, oh god, I just repeat myself, Jesus. If you have heard so many times of how incredible this film was, from Heath Ledger's final performance to this new, grittier tone grounded in reality for the superhero genre, or even it being currently ranked number 2 of the IMDb Top 100, which that is certainly a choice. I guess the main areas of my grievances stem largely from the fact that I've always held belief that at best The Dark Knight is an inoffensive, fun action thriller, and at worst a terrible Batman adaptation. I'm going to start off with the positives of this film, and while I wish I could go on a full yapping about the I don't know, just general other stuff like the cinematography, the gorgeous soundtrack, the shit. The gorgeous sound, the gorgeous cinematography, and the thrilling soundtrack. Jesus. Number one, I'm not really a music guy in the sense that I can't really comment on how good a piece is without saying something like, yeah man, this shit, it slaps. And ultimately, to me, none of that really matters in the overall picture if the story and characters aren't the focal point for the movie, and I just can't connect well or understand or like buy into anything that's happening. Which is why I believe that the best and only place to start off with for this film's praises is Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker. Before, I wouldn't necessarily go as far as to say, oh, this is one of the greatest villain performances in comic books, in comic book movies and cinema, but no, it really is, and I'm not necessarily talking about it from a writing standpoint, because I have issues with that, particularly, but rather just Heath's dedication and care that he took to this. This man, simply put, was a chameleon. I mean, just watching his scenes, compare it to something like the last thing I saw him in was 10 Things I Hate About You. I love that film, it's so fun. But if I was to show any of my friends who love 10 Things I Hate About You and I showed them Heath Ledger's performance, they would not believe that is him. And like, as you're watching his scenes, you just lose yourself whenever he's there, flourishing his charisma and style all over, and then you're just reminding yourself, oh my god, this is a performance, and I'm fully invested in this guy. It's just so phenomenal. Particularly, my favourite detail as a Batman fan, the story that he tells of his scars. A bit of a nerd rant, I will warn you right now, but a key component with the character of the Joker is that that the mystery of who he was before he became the Clown Prince of Crime is not actually important to the character or even his identity. The mystery is it. In fact, the more you reveal about his past, the mystery and horror is lessened the more you know about him. The Killing Joke, while it is a comic book that does have its own like controversial things for what it does with like Batman media and lore, yeah, I will say what it does contribute to the legacy of the Joker and what we understand of him. It suggests a plausible origin for him. I put that in quotation marks, you can't see my hands. Portraying him as a struggling comedian who has one bad day, pretty much like he like falls in a vat of chemicals that drives him insane. Despite that, the depiction of this memory of his like kid, his wife, his entry into the crime life is a very the depiction of it directly from the Joker's recollection is intentionally misleading. There's a quote he says, "Sometimes I remember in one way, sometimes another. If I want," I'm probably butchering the second part, but if I am to have an origin, I prefer it to be multiple choice. So the origin placed here with that is not garnered, but like is twisted to show the unreliability of this character's memory, further questioning both his sanity and reinforcing, like, maintaining what an evil force of nature he is by further distancing himself from a single origin. It just makes it more mysterious and makes him more ominous. You know what I mean. But besides that, yeah, like, if you think for a second that this insane monster, like, let's connect this to specifically with the Netflix monster series, you know, the Dahmer, Menendez. I have different feelings about the Menendez brothers, but like Ed Gein and Dahmer specifically, the way that those shows characterize those characters, it shows their entire life, like, you know, their crimes that they commit, major and minor, rewritings of history, of course, because fucking Ryan Murphy, but also like their childhood, their upbringing, relationship with their parents, whatnot, and then like their first kill. Does Ed Gein show? Because I'm pretty sure like Ed Gein, they make up an entire scenario where he didn't kill 2 people just so they can like recreate Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's so stupid. I'm probably gonna have to talk about the Netflix monster shows at some point. But yeah, the point of it is to like, in my opinion, to show like a broader picture of who these people were. But by showing us their childhood in the way that the show does it specifically, they in turn create sympathy, and not in a way you want to for these specifically real serial killers. And so with the Joker, it's that same thing. If you create a backstory that is meant to garner sympathy, or like to rationalize his insanity, I say that broadly. Like obviously, like, you know, insanity, like historically with like mental health and like that, yeah, I understand, but I'm referring to this more specifically in the storytelling nature. I wish I had more time to like elaborate on like the history of like Arkham, depicting a mental institution and its patients. I don't right now, but that's the gist of the Joker and his backstory. I hope you got something out of it from that rambling. Oh, I was not expecting to go off script, but anyway, the Dark Knight in this case, what they do with the Joker's quote-unquote origin isn't an exception. They actually hired Jerry Robinson. He's said to be the co-creator of the character. I consider him to flat out be the creator, essentially. I mean, obviously, like, I think he may have designed the character, but at the very least, he had the notion of this new Batman villain being a clown. I'm not going to give any credit to Bob Kane, that bastard, Bill Finger. He's alright. He's good. So specifically with the scars as an element with this iteration, it very feels like the mystique behind this character is maintained and is always teetering along the line of giving something to give you an explanation and then taking it away, like the more you learn about him. And this is shown when he first delivers the Scar story. If you listen closely, if you look closely at how the performance is done, he's actually looking to the side of his brain, as if he's like thinking in his head, I wonder what random... Actually, let me do my Heath Ledger impression. I wonder what random bullshit should I make up right about now. Let's have some fun. But also, it's to like, in that moment, try to make the story as sympathetic to the person he's telling it to. Telling this story about, in the case with the mobster at the beginning, of his mother, his abusive father, and what happened to his mother, allegedly. And then he does a similar thing when telling the story to Rachel. I was gonna say Rachel McAdams, but that's not Rachel Dawes, I think. Yeah. He makes up a story. He does a completely different story about how he mutilated himself to show his love for his wife after her face was scarred, not similarly, but like adjacent to his, only to leave him in disgust. And that moment in particular, I felt was very clearly the Joker trying to appeal to Rachel through her own relationship with Harvey Dent. And even the way it was delivered, it made me feel like this time there may be some truth in it, because the way the Joker says she can't stand to look at me, he's delivering it in anguish, but he's making it up, because it's the second story he's told about the scars, and it's bullshit. Like, the second time you know the scars are bullshit, but he delivers it with such anguish and pain, like he actually went through it. There's a specific quote in this film: nothing in his pockets but knives and lint, no name, no other alias, which is as it should be. To me, a figure like the Joker acts like a man with his own messy, complicated agenda, not necessarily a direct plan, but just whatever the fuck he wants. Here in The Dark Knight, it's to prove that the systems and the people who uphold them are easily corruptible and shouldn't be held to such a high standard, by my interpretation at least. And while the boat experiment does prove him wrong in proving that ordinary people and citizens and the convicted prisoners, even though they were mobsters, I'm more like sympathetic to a cause. Because at the very least, when, like, you see, even though these prisoners are members of the mob, at the very least, that one guy, like, no one's, like, willing, oh, yeah, let's kill all the families, yeah, let's do it, buddy, yeah, let's do it. Nah, like, the guy who throws the switch away, like, that should gain some insight to you, the viewer. Yeah, nah, I would, looking at this, I get these prisoners right now in this situation. Like, it gives more nuance than what even the film does, which is crazy. I'll get back to that in a bit, but... Sorry, I thought someone was knocking at my door. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the film, it tries its best to keep the prisoners in prison, you know, prison industrial complex, stuff like that, but, like, it's so weird that the experiment gives them more humanity. Even though that's not what it is trying to do, but, like, Batman, whatever. I fucking hate Batman in this. I'll get to that in a bit, promise me. But yeah, the two parties were simply unable to subject an entire group of people to death, and it's the case of, you know, the trolley problem. Would you pull the switch to save 5 people but kill 1 person? In that moment, you are thinking, you have your own ways of thinking. You don't want to pull it because you don't want to be responsible for killing those. But a lot of people, at least from, like, results that I've seen, are willing to pull the lever to save as much people as they can, even if it means killing a person. When you think about it, you have your reasonings for it. With the boat experiment, it's that principle, it's that theory in practice. Except the thing is, when you decide to pull the trigger, you can't. Because by doing it, you are responsible for the deaths of 1 person or an entire boatload of people. I know this wasn't part of anything that I was saying before, but, like, in practice, understanding the boat experiment through this lens, it's incredible and beautiful. The Joker believes that all people are fundamentally evil and can be corrupted, whereas Batman believes that people are able of rising above their hate and anger and being good, which is, like, you know, shown through his entire arc, or, like, throughout all of his iterations, I suppose you could say, except Ben Affleck. Would you say Ben Affleck? I feel like you would, but at the same time, he does kill people, and yeah, the branding, yeah. But yeah, if you push past the killing, yeah, I guess so. It's every Batman, except Thomas Wayne, not Thomas Wayne. So both the boat party and Harvey Dent as a character are meant to prove both characters wrong by showing how most people don't fall into a simple moral binary for, like, I don't know, philosophy or some shit. But it could still be argued that the Joker, in a way, was right, as, spoiler alert, I guess, for, like, a 22-decade-old film, I suppose. If you don't know who Harvey Dent is, you know, I'm not even gonna bother. I'm like a fucking nerd, it's fine. So after the Joker corrupts Harvey to go on his killing spree, both Batman and James Gordon cover up his act in order to ensure the good he did as the DA wouldn't be undone. And this pretty much is just like, it's so icky. The politics of this film, I'm trying. Most of my politics are going to be rambles. Like, you'll be able to tell when I'm rambling and it's not on script. But, like, the politics of this ending, I'll get to the ending in a bit, but of this specific choice that Batman and Gordon decide to do, it's kind of insane. It leads to the Dent Act in the Dark Knight Rises, where essentially criminals, like certain criminals, can be arrested without parole, and in some cases, I believe, without a fair trial. Which is fucking mental. That this is what Batman, and by extension the GCPD police, Gotham City Police Department, are alright with doing. I mean, like, I'll get into that in a bit. I think I'll just leave that point as is. But as much as I'm rambling on about, like, my little issues with it, overall, the Joker is incredible. Like, I was talking about the boat experiment and why I loved that in execution, and, like, like theoreticalness behind it. And yeah, everything about the Joker in this, it may just be Heath Ledger's performance, I'll be completely honest. But honestly, this movie, this was the Joker movie before we got 2 Joker films. And that by itself is kind of a flaw in its own right. In that, you know, while yes, the Joker is so captivating and memorable, it's almost acting as a detriment to the rest of the film. You know, the Joker is the main star and not Batman in the Batman movie. If all the other aspects aren't matching to that same level of quality, if you take the Joker out, yeah, there is pretty much no film because he drives the narrative. But at the same time, it's nowhere near as entertaining as it would have been, as it is with the Joker. I originally had a thought that the majority of why people grew up with this film, watched it in cinemas, maybe this was their first exposure to Batman other than the animated series, why people have become so attached to this film is possibly a mixture of nostalgia first and foremost, because that's like, I feel like that comes pretty standard, but also Heath Ledger's final acting performance. I mean, like the announcement for his film, for him as the Joker, came out after him having played, I haven't seen it, I really need to, but Brokeback Mountain. For those of you who don't know, Brokeback Mountain is a movie where Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal play 2 gay cowboys in the Wild West, or like in like a cowboy. It's a cowboy period piece of 2 gay cowboys. It sounds fucking amazing. I'm gonna watch it someday. And you know, like Heath Ledger seemed like such an awesome, chill guy, man. Oh my god. Always has to be like, you know, the really unfortunate, yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to like phrase words because Heath Ledger died of not a drug overdose, it was like medication. And I feel like because of how incredible of a performance it was, the fact this was his last one, it's a revolutionary performance in the sense that he won. He was possibly, I think it maybe someone else did, but I'm pretty sure he is like one of the first people to win an Oscar for a comic book movie. And the fact he was so young, the man was 28 years old, and he appeared in like 14 films in his entire, roughly like in that number in his lifetime, and he was incredible. I'm pretty much just glazing him at this point, but it's so sad. The more I don't get sad, and I'm like tearing. I'm not tearing up, but my eyes are getting wet. Oh man, I saw this really beautiful interview of Heath Ledger. It was for the press tour for Brokeback Mountain, and obviously during that time, I believe it was the Bush administration. But like he was asked a question about why by some old white guy, because of course it is. Why are they pushing this narrative of homosexuality? It's disgusting. And he was so sweet and genuine with his response. Oh my god. I'll probably post it as a story on my Instagram so you guys can see. I'll probably create a highlight reel. Yeah, I'll do that. But I don't have the nuance right now to discuss it, but as you can tell, if you can tell by the tone of my voice and my exhaustedness of trying to put into words Heath Ledger as an actor, as an individual, oh man. I definitely do feel like Heath Ledger's passing definitely influenced how people perceive the film, in the sense of like loving it so much that they oversee all the many flaws, even if they are huge comic book fans in that sense. I'll be more lenient to people who aren't comic book fans, maybe just like Christopher Nolan or like action movies. I'll give you that much. Feel free, in my opinion. I'm sorry, it makes me sound judgmental, but yeah, I think what really saddens me in the culture of comic book casting, the amount of like vitriol and hatred certain actors get for being casted in specific roles. Michael Keaton revolutionary Batman actor, first live action for a film. I don't know, people didn't like him. Christian Bale, I feel like, was universally loved, but I have issues with him. Who else? George Clooney, people thought would be perfect, and they didn't like his Batman at all. From what I've seen of George Clooney, I feel like he would be pretty fun in the film scenes that I've seen. Ben Affleck, incredible actor, perfect choice. Couple disagreements on like him being an Batman, but at the same time, you know, his execution wasn't done well. Andrew Garfield, my love, my life, my favorite Spider-Man. Pretty much up until No Way Home, like, was like not shat on, but like not looked in the same way Tobey Maguire was. Robert Pattinson, obviously, like, of Twilight and Harry Potter, you know, people who don't watch that many movies are probably going to have that image of him constructed in their head, and they thought, oh, what, sparkly vampire guy, nah, I don't want him. And he's like pretty much the best live action Batman, honestly. I love the Batman. The Batman is my favorite. I'd say it's my favorite of all the Batman films as of now. I haven't seen Mask of the Phantasm, so I need to check that out as well. And then, yeah, Heath Ledger, it's really sad. Me personally, thinking about it in retrospect, like how much shit he would have gotten for being cast as the Joker, and then like, yeah, everyone loves it. I think it's just interesting to think of the film as the collective of when it came out and how it shaped the culture of the box office, the blockbuster. And right before I slide into my main gripes for this episode, I want to briefly touch upon Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, who is played by Aaron Eckhart. I don't actually, hold up, now that I'm thinking about, I'm looking at my script, but I'm thinking about something. I don't think we've had a bad Two-Face portrayal, but now that I think about it, there's the TV show Gotham, which I do love. They do not adapt Two-Face at all, and it's like really unfortunate, because I think the actor, he's a decent actor. He was in Final Destination 5. But in general, for Aaron Eckhart, the mannerisms and the characteristics are nailed to a T, both as Harvey and as Two-Face. And from a visual point, you look and say, yeah, that's Two-Face. That being said, I feel like there was a massive misstep with his execution. I have a similar mindset when thinking about the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies and how they kill off the main villains at the end. Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, and I suppose Topher Grace's Eddie Brock. Actually, now that I think about it, killing off Eddie Brock is kind of really dumb, considering he only becomes Venom at the end of the movie, but whatever. But at the very least, you can't argue that with each of these films' focus having the desires of the antagonists clashing against Peter Parker's involvement, the two characters are in a way linked and written so closely that by the time they die, you don't mind the fact that we've lost a potentially really captivating figure who could have played a larger role in Peter Parker's story, because you're just fulfilled from the writing and the acting standpoint that you don't mind. You don't mind that they're gone, because like their legacy is still felt throughout. Even with No Way Home, I'm not going to go too on with No Way Home, but I feel like that film doesn't necessarily ruin their impact, because, you know, multiverse in that. But that fulfillment isn't necessarily the same with Harvey. Even though he's written to be Gotham's White Knight, and he's meant to be like the figure that Bruce could never have achieved to be as Batman, I feel like Bruce Wayne could have done a lot more in this iteration as Bruce Wayne. He is not as, like, depressed. Let's just say that. This man is not as depressed to be Batman. Oh my god, now that I think about it, I don't get why he's Batman. It feels like he's just using it as an excuse to just beat people up. If you look at every other Batman, at least they have the trauma that holds them in to continue being Batman. That's the whole point. Batman, he's unable to go to therapy. He can't process his grief and his trauma, so he wears the Batman outfit to process that, so that way he can do good to the people of Gotham. Christian Bale does just not have that. Sorry, my Christian Bale run will come in a bit. I am sorry for that. But Harvey Dent, to me, falls flat once it's clear that he's just a secondary antagonist to the Joker, whose transformation only comes into play within the last quarter of the runtime. And because of that, he doesn't get nearly as much time as Two-Face, the character, should. Even though his whole purpose is like surrounding his anger towards losing Rachel, the character is just stuck in a position that is never allowed to progress further than that, and to me, only uses the aesthetic of Two-Face for a brief moment. Like, honestly, you really could have just used any other character. You could have used, and it would not have made much of a difference. Like, Two-Face's like whole gimmick only comes in after Rachel's death, so you could have like done the Riddler with that, like say, oh, look at me with my fancy puzzles, Batman. Ooh, could have used, I don't know, Condiment King and like drowned people in ketchup or mustard or shit. And it's not necessarily a bad place to start when working for a villain origin story, particularly with this adaptation of Harvey. But considering that the character just dies right as he's become Two-Face at the end of the film, it feels like his existence and creation in this adaptation only live to serve the grander narrative for the Joker's manipulation, and also the fallout for The Dark Knight Rises. But beyond that, like, Harvey's arc ultimately rests on lashing out against the people involved with his girlfriend's fridging. Those of you who don't know what fridging is, look it up. It's a comic thing, but it's basically like a critique on... I'll just explain right now. Fridging refers to when female characters, mainly love interests, they are killed off, so that way they act as a motivation for the male characters, mainly as a protagonist, for their character development. In this case, for Harvey, Rachel's death pretty much is the only reason he becomes Two-Face. Despite that, I feel like Harvey is portrayed as a very well put together individual who makes his own luck and tries to be in control of his own fate. So the moment he loses Rachel and is somehow persuaded by the Joker to completely go off the rails, instead of just shooting the crazy bastard who killed his girlfriend, he knows this. I don't understand why he leaves it up to fate, to that coin toss, to like not shoot the Joker. The Joker's just yapping, for God's sake, man, kill the... I have come to accept that the Batman would never kill the Joker. Should he? Maybe, yes. But at the end of the day, Batman is not the law. He shouldn't have to. And at the end of the... And I said it twice, but like, Batman just could never kill someone. He like takes his anger out on aggression and violence, sure, but he can never kill someone just due to the trauma he endured as a kid. It's like, it's too scarring for him to go ahead and kill people, which is a problem with Christian Bale again. Woo, what a surprise. And listen, I'm sure there's some form of a rationale to be made here, but based on how Harvey had been characterized, and that his sole motivating factor was entirely around Rachel's death, to me makes the characterization feel very contradicting, and that both halves aren't the intended whole that it makes up, that it's meant to make up. And it's fine for the switch up on this characterization from being a very well-equipped individual, but for him to easily fold under no pressure and leave his fate up to his coin flick gimmick just doesn't flow as well as Kidney thought when I first saw it. I'm also, in a way, very much let down by the failed potential of what could have been achieved for a Two-Face adaptation. I already mentioned that killing him off as he becomes Two-Face completely rubs off for what could have been, you know, an incredible Two-Face adaptation. The way the character is performed doesn't really invoke Two-Face, quotation marks, other than the surface level appearance of his scarred face. According to the source material, Harvey Dent has dissociative identity disorder, quotation marks. Two-Face is his alter ego, and he's created by Harvey's psyche in order to cope with not only his unbearable burden of trauma. In most cases, it's not usually depicted, but like, at the very least, his origin. The abuse endured by his father, who would beat him, and yeah, all that stuff. But also the addition of his other mental disorders, ranging from BPD, schizophrenia, narcissistic personality disorder. The whole element of Two-Face it's not Harvey. Like, it's not Harvey. It's not him angry or like just fed up. Harvey is a man of two minds, Two-Face and Harvey, both of which care for himself in their own way, but both are on opposite ends of the spectrum. Harvey is like more like uncertain, not certain, not weak, but like soft, easy, and Two-Face is the exact opposite, direct, harsh, aggressive, and both of them are fighting for the final decision on what action to take. Hence the coin flip mechanic that he has, deciding the determined outcome if they're both at a standstill. Again, I need to emphasize that adaptations don't need to be faithful to one another. In fact, the way Harvey's coin is intended to be a double-sided coin in how it allows him to control the outcome of whatever it is he wants to achieve is very compelling as a setup. Then seeing him just lose his characterization to the words of the madman who is the reason why he is. When you compare the idea of Two-Face from what I've just described to the execution of him in The Dark Knight, it's hard not to feel like I'm watching a lesser depiction that fails to match up to what it's adapting. There is a video game, Batman the Telltale series. For those of you who are familiar with Telltale, they're not necessarily a video game company, more like interactive video game movie thing, where you control the character, you control the dialogue, the decisions you make, and while in essence you don't necessarily change the outcome, there's like probably a total of 2 to 4 endings you get. In the Batman's Telltale game specifically, you can save Harvey from getting scarred, from getting his Two-Face persona. That doesn't change the inner turmoil that he has inside of him. He will still become Two-Face without the scarring. He will still feel the indecisiveness. He will feel a man of two minds. And so in short, with The Dark Knight, you have a phenomenal Harvey Dent and a very weak Two-Face. I could go on more about the Telltale Harvey Dent because I love the Telltale games. They are severely underrated. I love them so much. They get the very essence of all the characters in a much better way than The Dark Knight does with its world. And the problem I have with Harvey, it's kind of the same with Joker, because even though Heath Ledger absolutely kills this performance as a calculated mass murderer, a lot of the plot just seems to warp around him, so much so that the more you think about certain aspects like the bank heist, his control of Harvey and what he ends up doing, to me it just makes the world not necessarily obviously the characters, but the world more dumber in order to make the Joker look smarter. But I suppose since he's meant to be taken as a very intelligent character, at the very least what's presented to me, even if the logic doesn't really flow well, just fits enough, I guess, that I'm able to enjoy it and sort of overlook it. Then again, that's more just to like Heath Ledger's incredible performance that I'm able to overlook it because I enjoy it so much. So, back on the subject of Rachel Dawes, I think, I don't know. In case you can't tell, I absolutely hate Rachel as a character. Anyone who's like a film geek, cinephile, whatever you want to call yourself, you must be familiar with Christopher Nolan's writing downfalls when it comes to writing his female characters, and Rachel is pretty much the antiphony of this. In relation to this film, I could not tell you a single piece of information that we learn about Rachel, other than she works with Harvey and is in a kinda quote-unquote relationship with him. Her entire purpose in the Nolan trilogy is pretty much meant to be the center of a love triangle between Harvey and Bruce, and the unobtainable love that Bruce is unable to have due to the nature of his vigilante life. Yet her death, which is such a classic case of fringing, it's laughable. Fridging, not fringing, fridging, as in like a literal kitchen fridge. Because the motivating factor for Two-Face and why Batman loses trust in his method is just Rachel dying, and it's just could have explored this in any other way. I mean, like, the Joker's involvement causes a supporter of Batman to die. Like, to me, as a kid, when I saw that Batman impersonator be tormented by the Joker on tape, hanged, his corpse just hanging, it was traumatizing as a kid. I was terrified. I was saddened. I felt more emotional for this guy who had like at most 5 lines maybe to Rachel, who appeared in both in the first 2 films. It's insane that for a character whose name you hear one time, I think his name's Bob, I can't remember, I just can't connect with Rachel in the same way I did with the Batman impersonator, because there's nothing to Rachel other than being a love interest. And I'm not saying that this unrequited quote-unquote love of Bruce yearning for a normal life and love can't be done well, and that he must be miserable and lonely. It's just that Rachel is not a well-done character other than being a damsel. If I could say anything else about Rachel, I would, but that's pretty much where my notes end. And it's kind of sad that for a character who's meant to be such an important life to Batman, and who pretty much influences like every decision he makes, which is mental, her biggest contribution is just dying and causing Batman to go into retirement, and Harvey goes cuckoo bananas. Yeah. On the subject of The Dark Knight Rises, I just don't find it compelling or interesting that Batman would want to give up being Batman in this way. But outside of Batman Begins, it truly feels like Batman has no other purpose to be Batman other than I don't know why he does it. I could go into like so many reasons why every other Batman wants to be Batman, why he chooses and continues to be Batman. This one just can't be bothered to. He's willing to like let go, quit, and leave the city in chaos. I suppose it's time for me to talk about the man himself, the Dark Knight, the Batman, played by Christian Bale. Incredible actor. I feel like I'm saying this so many times, but yeah, I love his work. I feel like my favorite is probably American Psycho. His Batman sucks. Jesus. Let's push aside the weird voice that he develops. You know, the one that sounds like he's gargling marbles, trying to be intimidating, like, you know, like, where is she? Where is she? Where's Rachel? That's gonna sound hideous. Jesus. Honestly, I think it makes sense now why the Joker was laughing while this grown man was just yelling in front of his face. Every time I hear this man try to be intimidating in these movies, I'm just laughing. It's hilarious. I feel like this Batman in particular is a perfect example of that meme that people have of Batman, who is, you know, being a rich billionaire who beats up the mentally ill. And while that statement at a core is meant to be a joke of Batman's character upon surface value, to me, that is just Bale's Batman to a less exaggerated extent. I'll try my best not to get too political on my beliefs and such, even though, you know, comic books are inherently political. That, and also because I do not want KCL to, like, take this down after one episode, but there is this famous speech. This movie has a lot of them, so much, it's actually painful. Jesus, so many goddamn speeches. Okay. It's given by Michael Caine's Alfred. Alfred to Batman is like his moral support. Without Alfred, there is no Batman. That's how I see it, at the very least. Like, there's many things, but like, Alfred is so important to Batman. It's that line. I'll try to do my best Michael Caine impression, I guess. Some men don't care about money or power. Some men just want to watch the world burn. Which, first of all, that line, cold as fuck. Holy shit. But the problem, Alfred is, in this case, he is telling the story about he, as, like, I don't know, a soldier or an army guy, go into the country of Burma. he's working for the government, and they're trying to persuade the local people, the local tribes, with precious stones. We don't know what they're doing in this case, but the government is trying to bribe the people. Then there is this thief, or bandit as Alfred describes him, and he pretty much steals the stones from the government and like throws them away, or like gives them to the people. Alfred frames this guy as being in the wrong for some reason, and the entire time I was like, oh, I get it, the bandit is meant to be a parallel to Batman, right? Going against authority and helping the people. Nah, that's not how it's meant to be framed at all. Like, to me, I see this bandit in this story as like Robin Hood, oppressing against the government, and, you know, steal from the rich, give to the poor. And like it's really, I absolutely hate Alfred. I never thought I would hate Alfred, because I've always loved Michael Caine's Alfred. But that specific line ruined my enjoyment so much. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think it just may ruin it even more. Because Alfred in this case is defending the government's actions of choosing to assert themselves over the people. And the one act of this bandit who stole stones that most likely belonged to the people of Burma, giving them back to them. He sees this Robin Hood figure as someone who wants to watch the world burn, and comparing him to a mass murderer, psychotic clown. I don't get it. This isn't a critique of Bale. I understand it's of Alfred. But Alfred is the moral compass of Batman. And it just seems like Alfred is... Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm sad. Similar to how I was talking about Heath Ledger, but just in a way, it completely mischaracterizes Alfred. Alfred is an absolute badass. This man will kill people. Not kill people, but like, he does not like assert to Batman's moral code usually. Oh my god, there's this really cool comic panel where he like just loads up a shotgun because there's like intruders in Wayne Manor, I think, something like that. But at the very least, like, Alfred is like so... I feel like Alfred would be from like, not necessarily working class, but like middle class. But this Alfred makes it seem like his family is just like rich aristocrats who don't understand the world outside of their own upbringing and experience. I feel like Alfred would make the story more so making it more so that the bandit is like Batman, and that the government as a collective is like the Joker, or at the very least what the Joker is trying to tear down, but in an opposite way to the bandit. That is so much... I just fixed the film. Jesus Christ. Some men just want to watch the world burn. No, Alfred. Some people just don't want to be overrun by a fascist government. I'm assuming they're fascist. Maybe I shouldn't, but it's fine. I also mentioned before about the Batman impersonator, who I said had much more of an appeal to me than Rachel's death. And we see how this group of like-minded wannabes who aspire towards his ideals. The Batman film with Robert Pattinson does this a lot better, because it actually is part of a plot line. It's not something that is shown once, said in one line of dialogue, the guy dies and then is just forgotten. It's not like that at all. We see how Batman has influenced these people, but it just seems like he doesn't care. He doesn't care. Like, he wants to make a difference. He wants to be inspiring, but he doesn't want people to replicate his actions. And so when he sees people replicating his look, it just feels very icky. In the sense that he comes in his giant tank and like resists, like, I think he binds them all and like basically tells them, you can't copy me. Don't do that. Like, just very simplistic in my opinion. I'm starting to lose my voice in case you can't tell. I also wrote that Batman to me feels more like a power fantasy, if anything, which, yeah, like, I'm not gonna get too much into it, but a lot of Batman in this film feels like, ah, look, man, isn't it so cool to be Batman? Like, yeah, there's like all the inner turmoil, not necessarily with his parents, but you know, Rachel, I guess, but in the yeah, like so much, like it's like, whoa, let's blow up shit, bang, bang, bang. Even though I don't use guns, but like I have guns on my cool motorbike. Look at my cool motorbike. It comes out of this giant fucking tank. Oh, look at me. I have sonar. Well, actually, not. Ignore the sonar point. But like, I have cool guns. I don't use batarangs. I use guns that aren't actually guns. They just look so cool. Oh man, I'd absolutely love to get into more detail about the power fantasy aspect, because Batman feels a lot like can be perceived as a power fantasy by certain individuals, but I feel like this depiction takes that to an extent, like a larger extent. But right now my voice is hurting like hell. I have a lot more to get through, and yeah, I didn't write the notes down for it. Don't worry, dear viewer, we are nearly at the end of this. I'd say I'd apologize, but this is my fucking show. I'm fine, it's fine. If you're complaining about, like, this is taking too long, you're watching this far, you're invested. Like, admit it at this point. I'm gonna keep that in. So, while on the kind of tonal shifts and liberties taken with these characters, like I said, I have repeated this so many times, but it's totally fine to have creative liberty. I just feel like I need to bring up the importance of comic book media and how the stories are adapted. Because to be quite frank, if you like are attempting to adapt something and then just not connect with the original source material in any like influence way, like why are you even doing it? Just do something else. I'm gonna like I'll use like another example. Like it's like saying I want to make a Shakespeare adaptation, but I don't want to do anything. I don't want to like actually no, that's not good. I'm gonna pause it. Hold up. It's like saying I want to make an adaptation of The Godfather as a TV series, right? I want to make a TV series of The Godfather adapted from the original films, but I do not want it to have any of the gangster elements. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be a Wild Western meets intergalactic sci-fi alien. I'm gonna make the fucking Godfather, but it's cowboys versus aliens. That's what I want to do. Like at that point, just make cowboys and aliens too, right? Don't work with something if you don't want to work with the medium. And especially tone. Tone is such an important thing to consider. Because I don't really have like any directive things to pull from as a quote or anything, but like it's very much that the Dark Knight wanted to avoid the kind of association of comic book adaptations of like the older Batman films, and even like 2000s of like the Raimi films, Blade, stuff like that. Less of a goofy campiness and more gritty, darker and serious. And it's like, fine, yeah, go ahead, make yours dark, make it serious, do what you want, but no need to like not tear down necessarily, but like make it seem like there's a prestige element. There's a hierarchy element, because at the end of the day, you can have both things. I think it's unfortunate that like we didn't necessarily have a good comic book movie culture as we do right now currently. I personally still love a lot of the MCU projects, even though yeah, I will say quality is like declining and like too much stuff. Even then, like James Gunn's DCU is incredible. I will get to that in a certain point, but it's important to consider. To me, it's important for me to establish that comic book stories in their essence are silly and campy and surreal in a way that makes it clear we are reading a heightened reality that is portrayed in this way so that we can believe and feel immersed into a story where a man can fly, gods can walk among us, and magic and sorcery binds the world together. The moment we begin to implement realness as a substitute, not an addition, but as a substitute for the heightened comic bookiness, quotations, put that in quotations, that's not a real word, of these stories, the more we start to lose the essence of them. Because yeah, like I said before, you want to make it dark and gritty, yeah, that's totally fine. But then it reaches a certain level. You're not making a Dark Knight movie, you're just making an action thriller with Batman, Joker, Scarecrow, and kind of Two-Face. Getting back to James Gunn, I love... James Gunn's probably my favourite. That's probably not like a controversial thing to say in terms of comic book projects in general. I will say though, Creature Commandos and Peacemaker Season 2 kind of a bit lackluster, not lackluster, but like That's also because he was working on them at the same time as Superman, which is much better, and what I'm talking about right now. Superman is just the absolute perfect example of this, like, of portraying the comic book movie in a well done way, in that Superman the character is very much the embodiment of all that is good of humanity, despite not being human and having abilities that would be viewed as terrifying. Like, oh god, there's this great giant of a man who, if he wanted to, could wipe us out. But the fact that not only is he not like this, but he's just a kind dude who was raised up with good family value, not family values, I'm getting conservative with that, nah, good human qualities, and he grew up to be a really kind man who just loves and cares for the people of Earth as if they're his own. It's an immigrant story. I'm getting too ahead of it, but yeah, Superman's an immigrant. I was gonna say more, but like I fucking love Superman. The movie and the character now, especially due to James Gunn's movie. It helps me better understand and see it. I hope at some point I get to talk about Superman. I don't want to ramble on, because this is the Dark Knight. But yeah, maybe I just like seeing stuff like that. I suppose, like, when it comes to the initial concept of Dark Knight being made for a more gritty and realistic world, I suppose it's kind of like, when the nature of comic books is being viewed as not worthy of prestige, to me it just seems like there's a lack of care for the world, the characters, to a certain degree, not necessarily. Because when I look at Superman, all I can think of is how instantly the public perception of Superman changed. I mean, I have a friend who is she's not a comic book nerd like me, but she saw Superman and she got it. It's incredible. The film isn't perfect by any means, but the characterization of this superhero and this world, it's incredible. It's beautiful. Especially since The Dark Knight did influence how we had multiple comic book projects as being like realistic, dark, and gritty. Like, I'm gonna make a list right now: Power Rangers 2017, The Fantastic Four, RoboCop, James Bond, Mission Impossible, the DCEU, and Man of Steel. Even though I love a lot of these projects, like, I didn't mention it, but The Amazing Spider-Man and Power Rangers, I love a lot of these projects. At the same time,
I've been here before, but I couldn't tell you when. Now every step I take is on the line.
And gritty world, like trying to
and each move right, what's else left behind.
So that way you can be viewed in the same way. Even though you have aliens, you have superpowers, you have masked idiots dressed up in tights and costumes. It's really stupid. I love it.
It starts again, but I really don't know why. A misplaced single slip or fall.
Something different to the quality.
Well, it's
of
back
what
to
we're
one dash
receiving
one.
with
I've lost
stuff
it
like
all.
Batman Forever and Batman and Robin,
I'm stuck,
of our own world.
with the stage I'm
So refreshing, because the Dark Knight and his good trendsetter fantastic. I just remember that as well. I haven't seen that yet.
brings us closer to that
Would have been really refreshing. That's especially how this take, like I said, went on to inspire all these other medium, or all these other adaptations. That being said, The Dark Knight has also done immense damage
I
both to the
really
brands
must
of Batman
make
and the
haste,
general public.
but I don't know what's ahead or the ending will bring.
Despite
Well, I just need to take a minute and then try again and take it the king.
better or worse, this redefines what a Joker
Call you with the stage I'm little
now this
more.
like deep theme,
Each
strong,
step alone brings us closer to that
must have some
old throne.
philosophical reasoning for his madness and methods. I probably repeated a couple words there, but it's fine. And if not that, then people will, at the very least, still draw comparisons to Heath Ledger, just because of how like revolutionary and like culture changes.
I'm stuck, I'll call you with the stage I'm
by Ryan
a little more.
has
Each step alone brings us closer to that
guy who
old
works as the
throne.
Joker's lackey. And so through his eyes you see how the Joker operates crime in Gotham on an up-close level. Whilst this was one of my first reads, and the more I read it, I was kind of interested in it, like, oh, this is an interesting perspective. I don't particularly remember too much, but I do distinctly remember Joker was trying to achieve some fulfilling, twisted philosophy that only his madness could comprehend. And I very much felt like the dialogue, again with like Heath Ledger's writing, the dialogue and how it's presented and written. That, and also trigger warning. I probably should have said this at the start. I'm sorry to anyone watching this, but like in the in the comic, he also rapes a woman, which, yeah, honestly, you can tell it's just, tell me you want shock value without telling me, you know? It's just like trying to say something. Then there's Joaquin Phoenix, who I saw the film when I was in 2019 as a kid. I thought I loved it. It was fun. It was like, it was just fun. That's what it was. But yeah, a lot of the issues people have with, I'm going to specifically talk about the first one because I do kind of like the second one for totally different reasons. But the first one does a lot to just change the world, not the world, but the characters of Gotham in order to revolve around the Joker as a central figure. In the sense that, and also they give him a defined character. He is not the Joker, he is Arthur Fleck. He is a man with incredible mental health issues. He isn't treated well by Gotham. That, and he's also possibly the son of Thomas Wayne and brother to Bruce Wayne. He causes chaos in Gotham. He causes the birth of Two-Face. He causes the creation of Batman. It's just like, it's that thing I mentioned about the Killing Joke. Like, it pretty much pulls inspiration from the origin in that, but it makes it more implied. It makes it less implied. It makes it, yes, this Joker, this is his origin story. And it's like I said before, you give sympathy to Joker, it loses the horror essentially, because then you have people saying, he's so literally me, I'm so the Joker, we live in a society. And like, as a character, I do like Arthur Fleck a lot. I really love him. I loved Joaquin Phoenix's performance. But the more I think about it, just not the Joker, in the sense of like, it's just Taxi Driver. It's just Taxi Driver with Joker face paint. I am coming up. I feel like, yeah, hold on, let me have a quick check. Oh man, I'm looking at my script right now, but it feels like, yeah, I do have a couple more paragraphs, but I'm probably going to be here for a lot longer. Jesus. So, alright, I'm going to talk about the ending right now, which, Jesus Christ. So, I said this before, but also spoilers if you're not, I already said it, doesn't matter. Harvey Dent died. I already said it, what am I talking about? Harvey Dent dies. And ignoring the fact that this Batman, despite having a quote-unquote code of not killing people or any guns, he somehow manages to be indirectly or even responsible for many deaths in this trilogy, but also his main villains, like Two-Face, Ra's al Ghul, not Ra's, fuck that. You know, fuck, he's Ra's al Ghul, he's not Ra's al Ghul. And Bane. But even after saving Commissioner Gordon's son from the chance of Harvey's coin flick, he knocks him over, causing him to fall, and yeah, that's the end of Two-Face. Everybody, woo! Give it up for Batman, everybody! After that, there's this big problem in the film that is presented, which leads into the ending. Harvey's time as the DA, he was able to successfully take down many of the mob's members from many different crime organizations and gangs, and primarily, for some reason, the only way this was able to go through with the methods that they obtained it on was due to Harvey's public opinion, the public perception of Harvey, based on his competency and reliability as the DA, whose intentions and interests were done towards the better and good for the people of Gotham. However, now that Harvey went on this little murder spree, you know, as you do, the question is now raised, if the public ever finds out about what Harvey has done, it will push all these criminals back onto the streets and organized crime is going to be back. So, Batman, the genius he is, world's greatest detective, despite having only one scene of actual detective work, comes up with the ingenious idea to pin all of Harvey's crimes onto himself, so that way Harvey's good deeds before he was Two-Face are still remain, and the only downside is that Batman will have to take the blame. And I'm just sat here thinking, bro, you don't need to be doing all of this. I mean, like, I thought covering a murderer's actions was very stupid, especially when I first saw it. Especially since I'm sure that Harvey's actions following Rachel's death wouldn't really be seen as anything tangible to release hundreds of inmates back onto the streets, where any sane lawyer could just make the case he had a psychotic breakdown from all the trauma he endured. And yeah, I'm pretty sure any reasonable jury and judge would pass this off, as horrible as it would be. Gotham has gone through a lot worse, let's be for real. But nope, Batman decides that he's... Hold up, let me do the voice. Batman decides that he's the governor. Wait, he's not the governor. He's the hero that Gotham needs. But not the one that is... Because yeah, I'm sure the city is forever thankful that you used your billions of dollars to hack in on every citizen's electronics to act as a listening device, Batman. This man, oh god, just reeks of having an insane martyr complex. It's honestly laughable. It reminds me, it's the exact opposite of Paul Atreides from Dune 2. I didn't like Dune 1 all that much because I was like, it's hard to get into a new world that you're just getting used to. Dune 2, fucking spectacular. Not only does Paul have a savior complex, a white savior complex, it actually is a criticism of it. It's like saying, this man is not in the right. He is not saving these people. He is pretty much a villain. Not the villain, but he's, yeah. Maybe I'll talk about Dune. Yeah, I'll talk about Dune at some point. That'd be fun. So, in the end, Batman and Gordon inadvertently become the villains for covering up this lie, which, surprise, surprise, everybody, gets revealed by Bane in the next film to be a massive I don't even know how to describe it, like cover up, and then it causes the people of Gotham to riot. They're angry. Like the working class overtaking the mass. I'm sorry, I'm really tired. But yeah, obviously Batman saves the day and all is forgiven because he sacrifices himself for the greater good. And yeah. But before that, Harvey Dent's reputation is preserved as being a good man despite the bad he did. When, like, just the way this complicates everything in a way, like, I'm sure it could have just been handled better. Oh man. People now compare comic book movies that are really good, of a high quality, to saying, but is it better than The Dark Knight though? And so, like, the more I just bring up these things, I'm like, anything can be better than this. Batman Begins, the movie before this, is better than The Dark Knight. Oh man. I suppose my general feelings towards this film is the inherent lack of understanding for these characters and the source material. I've briefly touched upon the adaptation, in particularly not applying a comic book aesthetic, but more so Nolan's wanting to make this action thriller, this not really political, but like I don't know what to call it, action thriller. That's like, when I say it like that, it kind of makes it sound more basic, I guess, with a Batman skin, like action thriller with Batman on the front cover. But yeah, it's just trying way too hard to make itself so serious and gritty, when even the film itself, there is like inherently silly shit going on, and it's not, I don't want to say it's not being respectful, because I'm sure there are like tons of fans who enjoyed this, and even like people on the creative team who absolutely like love the source material. But oh my god, I actually don't have my physical note of my physical book that I took for notes. I have my Google Docs up right now as my transcript, so I can like look at them, but I don't have the main stuff that I wrote during the film. But yeah, that is pretty much the entirety of what I have to say about The Dark Knight. What would I have to say to people who like this film? Yeah, that's fine. All right, this is just my experience and my connection with the characters and the world. It just doesn't connect to me as much as it does to everyone else, and it like as much as I wouldn't want to like it, because like it wouldn't be me if I didn't like this film. At the same time, I wish I could feel as connected as everyone else does to this film, but I just don't, and it's kind of sad. I will say though, I am pretty fortunate that I have met a lot of people who also don't like this film, and it's like, okay, so I'm not I'm not crazy, I'm not a lunatic. For anyone who isn't a comic book fan or a superhero fan, my friend Alona says that they don't like superhero movies, and I was like, but yeah, I feel like if I could make some recommendations for people who don't like comic book movies, I actually have a letterbox list, actually. Follow my letterbox, everybody. It's just it will be in my bio, I'm pretty sure. If not, then I'll like post a story, I suppose. So I have my letterbox list right now. It's mainly my comic book rankings. I had another one specifically for this point that I'm going to talk about, but I just can't find it right now. So obviously with like a lot of the superhero films that we have, it's like a lot of franchise narratives, and so it's like, oh, what should I watch? If you are serious about wanting to get into superhero films and you want to get into comic books at a later point, but you want to focus on films, and you do want an intrigue on how to start with the MCU, I would just recommend starting in chronological order from Iron Man all the way up to whatever's next. Yeah. If you are interested in Spider-Man, I would recommend watching the original Sam Raimi trilogy 1, 2, 3, and The Amazing Spider-Man. That's my personal favorite. I love it. Am I going Canadian? What the fuck? Jesus Christ, what's going on? Fucking hell. I feel like Spider-Man's probably like, because he's a universal character, you know, there's like a lot in that. I've just added it in. Obviously, the Spider-Verse films, Into and Across, those are just phenomenal. I have not so many friends, but I have friends who I saw Across the Spider-Verse with, and they're not the biggest Spider-Man fans, but I showed it to them and they are obsessed with it. I loved showing it to them and they were just in love. Another one, not DC or Marvel, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. It is so fucking batshit insane. It's like a love letter. It's like a fusion of comic books, video games, comic book movies, I suppose, even though it wasn't really around during that time. So yeah, comic book movies. For that, I'd assume if you have bit of like an trigger warning, there are a ton of flashing lights, but like if you want something that to just turn your brain off and have some fun, Scott Pilgrim's for you. If you want to get started with Batman, but you don't want to like necessarily get too serious about it, I would 100% recommend the Lego Batman movie. It's just so much fun. You may not understand any of the stuff, the references particularly, but you know, it's just so fun. I love the Lego Batman movie. 2 recommendations from James Gunn. First and foremost, Superman, 100% must. Like, if this is changing how people think about Superman, you'll watch this and you'll want to watch more. You'll want to watch more Superman stuff. Also, the Suicide Squad. It's the James Gunn one, not the 2060 one. I need to make that emphasis. The Suicide Squad. It's honestly I want to say my favorite comic book movie. Yeah. Just watch the Suicide Squad. I'm not going to get too much into that. Also, The Crow. This is a classic. Played by... I'll probably get into a separate video about it, but also watch The Crow, the original 1994 one with Brandon Lee. I found it. Yes, wonderful. I found my superhero movies for non-superhero people. How did I forget this? Oh my god. At the top of the list, I have the original Superman movie from 1978 with Christopher Reeves. If your entire exposure to Superman was Man of Steel and the Justice League movie, watch 1978 Superman. It's very cheesy, it's of the time, obviously, but you know, God, it's so beautiful. I love that movie. What else have I got here? Alright, both of the Black Panther movies. I don't feel like I need to stay at all. Wakanda Forever is just so raw, powerful. I love it. Black Panther, it's just... How the hell did they get such... Were they so good? I don't get it. I mean it in like the sense of like, you know, MCU films in general, like being like a lot of joke fest, but like, oh my god, the Black Panther films, I like... They're not my favorite, but they are so, like... The fact I could just recommend Black Panther and people would want to get it. Blue Beetle, honestly, I put this lower on the list, but like, Blue Beetle was a fun time. I love Blue Beetle, the character, so that's a plus. What else? Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. If you're into martial arts, definitely check this one out. My mum is obsessed with this film. She pretty much rewatches it every time on Disney Plus. It's pretty much, not all the time, but like, it reaches a point where like, alright, we get it, you like this film. There's Thunderbolts, which is like a team of... I don't know what to call it. Thunderbolts are just like a bunch of losers getting together to be a team. I love the Thunderbolts. They're so cool, they're so fun. Batman 1989 with Michael Keaton. Not... how do I say this? Not necessarily the best in terms of certain characterizations, but the world is very beautiful, so gothic. It's Tim Burton, Michael Keaton, I forgot, fuck. Oh shit, what's his name? Oh god, I forgot who plays the Joker. No, I can get it. Jack Nicholson! Yeah, Jack Nicholson, yeah. V for Vendetta, if you're into revolutionary films, stuff not like The Dark Knight, check that out. Chronicle's a very special one. Chronicle. It's a found footage style film of these 3 teenagers who get superpowers. It's really good, really fun. I mean, minus that it's written by Max Landis. Yeah, I like Chronicle. I don't want to go on too long. I just wanted to have this section. Maybe I might not even add in. I might add it in like for a different thing about superhero films. You know what? I'll probably save this for when I'm talking about superhero films, play it back, and then get back. But yeah, that is in general my... Actually, you know what? Yeah, I feel like I may keep that part in. And yeah, those are my short recommendations. If I feel like I'm gonna like cut up where I go on for too long, just for runtime purposes, but also I am hoping to do a superhero episode at some point. But yeah, that is my essential thoughts on The Dark Knight. I love superhero films, and it's such a shame that I just can't connect well with The Dark Knight. It has been truly lovely talking here into my laptop with a crappy mic that does not work. I'm not complaining, kclradio Society. I'm just... My laptop is just, I don't know, it's doing its thing, I guess. Good on it. But yeah, thank you for listening to this in its entirety. If you've even reached this far, I'd be surprised if someone reached this far. This is probably going to be like an hour at most. Ooh. I hope I was entertaining. You know what? Yeah. Feel free to like message me on Instagram or whatever. I don't know. Please do let me know how this has been. This is my first episode. I was hoping on doing like a regular... No, I wasn't hoping... I kind of wanted to start off with The Dark Knight because it is the opinion that I do have a lot of gripes with, especially it's like my most not hated film, but like it's the film I don't like that a lot of more other people love. And so I wanted to get that out of the way before I went into stuff that I do really love with such passion and care. And I promise at a certain point that is what I will want to do. I do just want to like express my love for film, and in this case I suppose you can argue that me going on about the adaptation of Batman in The Dark Knight, it's me expressing my love for the character and the other adaptations as well, and expressing my frustration with The Dark Knight as well. It's all from a place of love. I truly have no other way to end this. You know what? I'll leave a couple things. I'd like to thank... I want to say thanks to Victoria and Pippa from the Liberal Arts Society. They have their own podcast. It's called Mood Watching. Check it out. Pretty sure it's also on... Yeah, it's on Spotify. They're a bunch of cool people. Love them. I don't know what else to say. But yeah, check them out. Also, Ilona, my love, my Shayla. They have 2 things. They have a radio show, New Wavelength. I believe, yeah, it's on Tuesdays. Check that out. And they also have a podcast called Still Becoming. Anything else? I don't know. I'm going to yap on for a bit. I know I've kind of extended my thing, but I do want to say I am excited for Halloween this next week. I'm currently... I'm not in a costume right now. I'm kind of prepping. I'm going to go as Billy Joel Armstrong from Green Day for a Bandsock Society. That's going to be cool. I'm going to put on like eyeshadow and shit like that. It's going to be fun. I also am planning on getting a Spider-Man suit. I am not KCO Spider-Man. And then what else? Oh yeah, The Crow. Oh man, I hope I get to talk about The Crow someday. That is one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah, I'm gonna cut it right here because I do want to. I'm making that, and it's just my rambling, but it's fine. Thank you once again for watching this. I keep saying watching. Jesus Christ, man. Thank you for listening in. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And yeah, catch you next time. Bye. I do want to first.